This is a review over chapter 9 and 10 of the muscles. Here are some helpful pictures and diagrams. First, we have an in-depth picture of the muscle. Starts with the tendon, covered by the deep fascia, then the epimysium, then goes into the perimysium, then the endomysium, and in the perimysium, there are some blood vessels, and around this is the fascicle. Then you go up, and there's a muscle fiber, the blood capillary. Then we go into the sarcoma, and the myofibril, and the motor neuron. Then we have the required muscles, a diagram of them. We have the pectoralis major, deltoid, bicep, longus, radialis, brachioradialis, and the superficial flexor digitorum. Sternocleidomastoid, trapezius, rectus abdominis, serratus anterior, external oblique, gluteus medius, rectus femoris, sartorius, tibialis anterior, gastrocnemius, and deep to that is the soleus. Then the vastus lateralis, and the vastus medialis, and the extensor digitorum on the foot. Then on the back side has the trapezius, the deltoid, the teres minor, the triceps. This whole thing is the latimus dorsi, extensor carpi radialis, gluteus maximus, vastus lateralis, the semitendinosus, and deep to that is the semimembraneous, then the biceps femoris, and the gastrocnemius, and deep to that is the soleus. Then we have an in-depth picture of the rectus abdominis. We have the serratus anterior, which are the lines on the side, pectoralis major, rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis going transverse, the internal oblique, and then on top of that is the external oblique. Then we have the myofilament, which on the outside is the Z-disc, the I-band, in the middle is the A-band. The I-band surrounds the A-band, and then there's the whole thing is the H-zone. Inside is the myosin, which is the thick filament, the red. And then on the inside is the actin, which is the thin filament, which is this chain-looking feature.
Okay. So for an in-depth of the skeletal muscle, so there's this is basically the same thing, but this is, the covering is the epimysium, and then there's blood vessels running throughout, and then there's little parts of the perimysium, which are fascials, and then within that it's a bunch of endomysium, which is a single muscle fiber. And then this is in depth of the legs. So there's the rectus femoris, which is part of your quads, and there's 4 parts of the quads, which is the vastus lateralis, vastus medialis, and the vastus intermedialis, but that isn't pictured. And then there's the sartorius, which runs diagonal from the outside of the hip to the knee. And then there's the patella, which is the kneecap. And then there's the gastrocnemius, which is basically the calf muscle. And then there's the extensor digitorum legus and the tibialis anterior, which both are they both support the foot and moving it. And then this is the whole action potential. So this is threshold, and then this is depolarization. This is repolarization. So for depolarization, that's when the sodium ions are flowing in. And then for repolarization, that's when the potassium ions are flowing out. And then there's this hyperpolarization state, and then it goes into resting state. And then there's something... During depolarization, the membrane potential becomes positively charged. During repolarization, it becomes negatively charged and then returns to resting potential. And the refractory period is when the membrane cannot respond to another stimulus after repolarization and sodium and potassium levels return to normal. And then the neuromuscular junction. This is the motor end plate. And then therethere's a bunch of gated channels which have acetylcholinesterase, which is so this is a muscle fiber, and this is communicating with a motor neuron, and the motor neuron, it's not just neuromuscular junctions, there's also, it can do it with other neurons, and also, like glands and stuff. Anyways, so this is the axon terminal, and then these have vesicles of acetylcholine, and then this is the plasma membrane for the muscle fiber. Yeah, so that's a neuromuscular junction. And then in our study guide, we have some key terms, which is basically definitions, and then
they go along with the pictures as well.
Yeah. Some functions of skeletal muscle. 1, it produces skeletal movement. 2, maintains posture. 3, supports soft tissue. 4, guards body openings. 5, maintains body temperature. And 6, provides nutrient reserves. Yeah, so this is just all in our study guide too, which is attached to the main one.
These are basically all in depth of the pictures.
Yeah.
Explaining what's happening.
And then there's Quizlet stuff up here, so yeah, just go to the study guide for an overview of muscles, chapter 9 and 10.